Hi, so today we'll look at downwards facing dog. We'll run through how to correctly get into downwards dog and also look at a couple of common misalignments and also a few modifications that you can take with this pose. So you either love downwards dog or you hate downwards dog. I think that's the general kind of theme with this pose. It's a really great stretch for the whole back body, especially the hamstrings, and it's also really great for building upper body strength. That said, it's quite a strong pose. You do need to build strength in the arms, in the wrists, and some people, especially if they aren't getting into the pose correctly, they can feel pain in certain areas. Common areas where people may feel pain will be the wrists and the hands from dumping the weight into the heel of the hand, also shoulder and neck pain, and maybe even some pain or strain in the hamstrings. Now, if you're feeling any of these kind of issues or pains, then there's chances that perhaps maybe you're not getting into the pose correctly. So they're quite good indications to maybe grab a mirror and check out your alignment, and also run for a couple of these kind of alignment tips that we'll go through now. I'm going to do that thing. Hi, and welcome to this class on downwards facing dog. So today we'll go through how to do downwards dog and also a couple of modifications that you can take in this pose as well. So it's quite common for some people to feel maybe pain in the wrists, in the neck and the shoulders, and also strain in the hamstrings. And these are indications that maybe we're not getting into the pose safely or correctly. So we'll run through now a couple of ways that you can get into the pose and also realign yourself. So we will start in an all fours position, so just making your way onto the mat. Now this is a really good place to set up for your downwards dog, so if you get good alignment in this pose, it will really help you to get good alignment in your downwards dog. The key area being that you want your shoulders stacked over your wrists and you want to push into the whole hand here. So a lot of the time, if you're experiencing some wrist issues, or if you feel like there's a lot of pain in the heel of the hand, it's because all the weight is dumping into this area of the hand, and we want to distribute the weight through the fingers, through the whole hand. So we can start to do that in our all fours position by really pushing into the hand, pushing at the index finger, the middle finger down. Feel the palm of the hand ground, really grip into the mat. So we can practice that here in our all fours position. And our hips are just stacked over our knees, and we want to make sure that our shoulders are drawing down the back, so there's lots of length in the neck, broadening through the shoulders, pulling the navel in, and from here we'll just tuck the toes and we'll just lift the knees off the ground, feel the core engage. Notice how that feels, and then we'll just drop the knees back down. So we'll take that again in a moment, and then we'll move into our downwards facing dog. So just making sure that when you lift the knees, you're still pushing into the whole hand. Our arms are about shoulder distance apart, so like I said, in line with the shoulders. And we'll go again, so lifting the knees off the mat, pulling that navel in. And this time we'll continue to lift the hips up and back, coming into our downwards dog. So in this pose, depending on how your legs feel, you can always step the legs back slightly, just going for a slightly wider downwards dog. And because this is the first downwards dog of the day, generally it's nice to take a few movements, so coming onto the toes, bending through the legs, maybe bending one knee at a time, maybe looking under opposite arms, just really getting some movement into this downwards dog. Being nice and warm in the pose can also help to stay in this downwards dog as well. Notice whether the fingers are lifting off the mat. We do tend to pick up the pinky finger here, so just make sure you're really rooting down through that finger. Checking the hands will move up to the elbows, so you want the soft parts of the elbows crease facing inwards. And moving on to the shoulders, we want to broaden through the upper back. So if you're feeling a lot of tension or pain in the neck, then it could be that you're not broadening through the back. And then moving up to the tailbone. So we're really lifting up through the tailbone, creating a nice straight back. One of the common issues that we see in our downwards dog is a rounding through the back. So I'll see if I can demonstrate now, but we're kind of rounding through the back like so. So when you do this, you'll notice that my shoulder blades are no longer broadening. I've got some tension in my shoulders, my back's rounded, so I'm not getting a nice stretch through the back. So you really want to just broaden those shoulder blades, push through the hands, push up through the tailbones. It helps if you notice that you're rounding through the back to bend the knees here. If there's no issue with bending the knees, there's no issues with coming onto the toes either. I think it's common for people to just think we need to have straight legs, we need to have the heels of the feet on the floor, but sometimes you're not there yet, sometimes the body's not warmed up yet. It's something to work towards, but the main thing is you want to have that nice straight back. Otherwise you won't be getting all the benefits of the pose. So bending the knees to keep the back straight if you need, coming onto the balls of the feet if you need to, keeping that back nice and straight. And then if you find that your hamstrings are quite open, you can see about maybe bringing the soles of the feet to the floor, but only doing so if you can keep that back nice and straight, keeping the shoulders broadening together. And you may even notice that this changes throughout the practice. You might start on the toes and then work towards the heels and the floor by the end of the practice. So that's how you can do a downwards dog. I've just run through some of the key things to look out for. So if you're experiencing maybe pain in the wrists, concentrate on the hands and pushing into the floor. If you're experiencing pain in the shoulders or the neck, then concentrate on really drawing the shoulders or broadening through the shoulders, so you're creating lots of space there. And if you feel pain in the hamstrings, or you notice that your back's rounded, then really start to bend through the knees. You can maybe readjust your downwards dog, maybe making it slightly wider or slightly shorter. There's no rule to how short or how wide your downwards dog is, it's just what feels good for you. Obviously if you get too short, then you're moving into more of a forward fold than a downwards dog, but so that's also something to keep in mind. So now we'll look at a few modifications, and we'll start with the wrist. So like I said, it's important to push into the whole hand. That said, some people still feel quite a lot of pain in the wrist. You might have some kind of wrist injury or something like that. If that's the case, always maybe work, like you never want to feel pain. So if you do ever feel pain, then please come out of the pose. So a couple of things that you could try with the wrist is to fold over the mat. So you've got a little bit of cushioning here. Now depending on what position you're getting the pain in the wrist, you might feel better to place the fingertips on the padded bit with the palms facing down, or you might feel better to place the palms on the padded bit with the fingers down. So it really depends on you and when you're feeling your pain, but you can try both of those options out just to give yourself a little bit more padding when you get into your downwards dog. You can also buy something called a yoga wedge, which is a bit of wood that's shaped like a wedge and you can use that to support your hands on as well. Lots of people use that, so if you do get quite a lot of wrist issues, then you can always try that as well. So that's option number one with the hands. A few other things you can try if you do not like the traditional downwards dog. You can use a chair or you can use a wall. So with a chair, there's a couple of ways to use one. You can use the back of the chair, just bringing the hands on, stepping the feet out. Again, this chair's a little bit too small for me, but trying to keep the arms so they're in line with the shoulders, so the hands are shoulder distance apart. And you continue to broaden through the upper back, hinging at the hips, so again trying to keep that back nice and straight, and you want your feet about hip distance apart. So we're in our downwards dog shape, our V shape, and we're looking at the same alignment cues as we did in our downwards dog. The only difference is we haven't got as much weight on the hands. So you can either use the back of the chair, or you can try using the front of the chair. Now everyone will look different in their downwards dog, and you just have to play around with it and see what feels good for you. As you can see, this is as a smaller V shape. Another option as well is to come onto the forearms, either having the hands in line with the elbows, or you can bring the hands together, clasp the hands, and coming down like this. So this is more of a dolphin, but you've got no weight on the hands or the wrists here, but you're still getting that nice stretch through the back and through the hamstrings as well. So all the benefits that you get from a downwards dog with less weight in the arms. So you might not be building as much strength, but it's somewhere to work towards. So that's using a chair. Another option is to use a wall, and we use a wall in pretty much the same way as we use a chair. Again, bring in our hands so they're in line with our shoulders, so they're shoulder distance apart. Walking the feet back, keeping the feet so they're hip distance apart. You can walk the hands down. Again, broaden through the back, so you don't want to have the shoulders up like this. You don't want to round it in the back. You want to stretch through the back, keep the back nice and long. And you can walk the hands down further if you like, readjusting the feet. And you can even push into the wall here, so you start to build some strength in the arms as well, keeping the navel pulling in. So that's how you can use a wall. The final option I have is really great for the upper back. So if you're wanting to build strength in the upper back and you don't want to have any weight on the hands, then this is a really good option, and you still get the benefits of stretching the thighs or the hamstrings. So we'll come down onto the mat, and to set up for this one, we'll just bring our forearms down, and then we'll take opposite hands around opposite biceps, and then we'll bring them out in front. So you can either stay with your hands in this shape, trying to keep the hands grounded into the floor, or if you like, and it is a little bit easier, and I'll be taking this option, you can clasp the hands together, so creating a really nice strong base. And then starting with the hips over the knees, toes tucked, we'll just again pull the navel in, lift the knees up, and then begin to straighten. Stay in here, or you can start to walk the feet in. So this is our dolphin pose. So it's a downwards facing dog, but using the forearms instead of the hands. It's a very strong pose, but it is an option to use if you don't want to put weight on your hands for any reason. So we've run through a few different modifications there, and I hope you found that beneficial, and I thank you for practicing with me today.